Oh, you gonna take the blue team? Okay, okay. I'm in a win-win situation.
Daddy's taking orange.
Huh? He's actually playing for both. So he's gonna play. He's gonna play for both. That's why I say it's a win. Oh, I'm telling you, man. Slade is like he's dialed in. He's ready. He's ready to go. He's ready to go. On Virginia? Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too.
Jerry,
No.
start us off, the leader of the pack.
Just have you checked all the boxes that you wanted to accomplish in the spring so far?
For the most part, yes. You know, it was a little difficult with the depth on the offensive line. Probably didn't get as much live work as I wanted, but we did get some good competitive stuff, enough to evaluate. And biggest thing for me, as I've said before, is the big picture things. Really establishing the core values and the practice habits and the fundamentals, the tempo at which we practice, the organization, the structure. Those were the things that were most important for me. Schematically, I let Dez, and I let Rudds, do what they needed to do. I was just focusing more big picture.
When you evaluate players at the end of spring ball, do you attach any more weight to how someone performs in the spring game and with fans in the stands than you would how he did on practice 7 out here?
Oh, yeah, definitely practice 7. Practice 7 compared to the spring game would be different because now you got 7 additional practices to process the installation and have more repetition. The weight that I want to put on is just to see how these guys function in that environment. So to give me an indication of okay, can he transition the fundamentals and the coaching and the scheme work to a competitive situation. But it'll be used in evaluation, but it won't be the end-all, be-all, so to speak. What they did for all 15 practices will be taken into consideration. And truth be told, the evaluation process is going to go on all the way through fall camp and even through the season. You'll be evaluating from week to week to see which guys give you the best chance.
Tony, you come up from a place where the spring game was a pretty big deal. It has not been a major event in Charlottesville.
Right.
Now, this year you're getting closer to a game format, which may help. Is it important to you to have a good turnout or to build towards that in your time?
Definitely. If you think about it, if you look at the college game, there's no preseason games. So there was some talk about some possible isolated scrimmages. But right now, we compete and prepare against ourselves the entire year, other than the 12 games that we're guaranteed. So this is an opportunity to create a game-like environment for those guys. And so it's a big deal to me to have a good crowd, create the energy, because the game is different than practice. Right, you're trying to stress them as much as you can in practice to make the game easier, but then when you get to the game, you have those added elements, and you want to see which guys can maintain the focus and not get distracted by what's going on in the game.
I think the last time we talked to you, you said the defense was way ahead at the beginning.
Yep.
Has the offense caught up?
The offense has made some progress. They've kind of settled in. We've had a little bit more consistency with the personnel in practice offensively, with the exception of the offensive line. And again, for the offense, there's a little bit more details. Defensively, you kind of get those guys lined up and you coach them up a little bit technique, and then you say, go get the ball. And so a lot of what they do is based off of energy, emotion, and passion, whereas offensive football, it's all 11 at the same time with a lot of details. And then Dez really stressed them from a formation standpoint, multiple formations, putting in different type of procedures in terms of you got the huddle, then you got no huddle, then you got tempo, then you got like your 4-minute type of offense. So a lot of details offensively, but I thought they did a good job the second half of spring of really responding. And I also thought the defense did a good job of keeping up their energy. I wanted to see how they were going to respond, if they were going to be able to maintain that excitement, that energy day in and day out, and they've done a good job.
How much have you scrimmaged already?
So we've had 2 full scrimmages, and then we had a half scrimmage, and then we had a couple of other 50-50 days where you would like to get some half scrimmage work that we weren't able to do just because of the personnel situation up front. So we got 2 full scrimmages and a half scrimmage, and then some spotty live work.
How much did you see already, the fundamental things that you're working on translating into those scrimmage situations?
The first one, not so much because it was the first time that the guys were out there and the eyes were a little bit big and things were moving fast. But the second scrimmage and then some of the live work here, you're starting to see some more of the fundamentals. And I think the biggest area of improvement that was most noticeable was the use of the hands by the D-line. I thought the D-line made a lot of progress this spring with the fundamentals in their hand placement and hand fits up front.
You have about, I guess, close to 20 guys on the will not participate list. Of that group, do you expect most or all to be ready for fall camp?
I do. As I go down the list, I think the only one right now is Ronnie Walker. Probably won't be ready for fall camp. He'll be a little while after that. Some guys will be closer to fall camp. Like I think about Jonas, he'll be closer to fall camp. Bratton, once we get back, should be good to go. Billy, once we get back, should be close to being good to go. Yep, and then Dunkel won't, he won't make it back with the ACL, but pretty much everybody else I'm expecting to be ready once, and then Bryce Carter may not be ready, but most of them I feel good about.
What's Derek Devon's situation? Is he?
So he's kind of day to day. We got some positive news on his foot. And we're just taking it slow because he's had a history of some issues with his foot, and so the reports and the MRIs were positive, and we just wanted to let's make sure that we get him to fall camp, get him to the season, and let's not put him behind, right, and put him at risk by putting him in the game.
How do you manage Saturday in terms of just so many guys playing on both teams?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun, and just getting the jersey number situation was oh my gosh, like, okay, I'm sitting down with Greg, our equipment guy, like, all right, what jersey numbers do you have in what color? Right, so all right, you got these jersey numbers in this color. Okay, so he's on the blue team, he's on the white team. So we've already started that. We're gonna have some pennies, so we're gonna have to, because it's gonna be too hard. We don't have tearaways or zip up jerseys. So we try to be strategic in the guys that would have to swing, so we can minimize some of that. What you're gonna see up front is our two tackles got to play for both teams. So that if they're on the blue team, then when they go to the white, they'll put on a white penny over their blue jersey just to kind of blend in. And so we're gonna have to manage that and really challenging the coaching staff to let's make sure that we're locked into the game, we're present in the moment, and we try to ease that transition as much as we can.
How about in terms of conditioning?
Yeah, well, the guys, the tackles have been doing it all spring, so it'll just be another day for them, and we're hoping that it won't be as much for some of the other swing guys.
For the offensive linemen, particularly Leach and Patterson and Josie, who got so many reps this spring, how much do you think that accelerates their learning curve and learning
Big
a
time.
new system?
Big time. I tell you what, I'm proud of Leach. Leach has really progressed, and he progressed quickly. And he looks like he's back to having fun and he's enjoying it. Charlie was really making progress, and then he hurts his ankle, and so he misses a couple. But pleased with him. And then Josie, Josie's had to play all positions, and having to play all positions does nothing but accelerate. So we feel really good with where he is. Justice had to play a lot of snaps too, playing both guard, center, and tackle. So it was tough on him, but you think long term, it definitely helps him long term.
A couple of your players have mentioned this spring, the offense you guys have installed have allowed you to play complementary football. It'll help the defense, it'll help the special teams too. Is that kind of your philosophy? Is that everything works in unison?
No doubt. I mean, we're a team, and you don't want to compensate. Now, there's going to be some times that you got to carry your brother, but we don't want to have a mindset of where we compensate. We want to complement. And again, we're going to be aggressive and attack on offense, and we're going to want to score every single drive. But part of being balanced, being a balanced attack, is to be able to control the game. And there's going to be some times in the game where we're going to need defense to get a stop for us on offense and play complementary football to give us a chance to go score. And then vice versa. The defense is going to need us to put together a drive, right, so that they can get a rest. And then special teams has to come in and do their job so that they assist the offense and the defense and put them in the best field position.
On that same topic, we've seen Brennan sort of drop back and throw some real deep balls. It sounds like there's going to be times where he's asked to do a little more of the short and mid-range stuff. How would you evaluate him in those areas?
He's done a good job and we really focused on that, the short, intermediate. Obviously, Rudd's everybody, the coordinators say they're not trying to win the drill. but everybody's trying to win the drill in practice. And so he wasn't going to just give us opportunities to just throw it over the top. So it was really good work for us that we had to get everything in front, and which helps him. But I thought he did a good job of managing it, his footwork in the pockets, his poise in the pocket, getting the ball out on time. I was pleased with his progression there. And then we know that he can always, put the ball down the field.
And then that defense, it sounds like what you just said, that he wants to make people earn it up and down the field and then really tighten up in the red zone.
Right.
The last couple of years, big plays have been a huge problem. Does his scheme take some of the maybe pressure off the players in terms of the big play situation?
I think that he's got so much to his scheme that he can do a little bit of everything, whatever's required. If he needs to protect the guys and help them in terms of making people earn it, he can. But he also showed some times where he was aggressive and getting into some 5-man fronts, some 6-man fronts, and blitzing and bringing pressure. And so he's got a lot of bullets in his arsenal.
The offensive line seeing all those different looks that Rudd
Yeah.
gives them, how much does that help them come forward?
It's huge, and I just would go give Dez a hug, every once in a while, because I went through it for 7 years going against Brent, and man, you would walk off the practice field sometimes, you'd be like, man, golly, but you knew that by the time you got to the season, there wasn't nothing that you weren't prepared for and you haven't seen. So it gets frustrating at times because you're competitive and you want to win the drill, which is different for me now because I want the offense to win a little bit. I want the defense to win a little bit. So I'm sitting back and I'm enjoying it when it's competitive and it's not lopsided. The coordinators, they want to win their side of the ball from a drill perspective. But yes, it helps them because you've seen everything by the time you get to the season, and so it's easy to recall. Okay, and it forces the coaches to spend time developing answers that they can have in their tool bag once they get to the season, in case we're preparing for let's say a Miami team that's doing something that's a little bit different. Well, we can always say, hey, you know what, we saw a little bit of that in spring and fall camp.
You got 2 alumni leading these 2 teams on Saturday. You're hoping for a lot more to come out too in the game. What has it been like, just kind of reinvigorating this alumni base?
It's been fun. It's been fun as a former player, and how cool is it that I get to see Heath Miller and Aaron Brooks and Chris Long, guys that were a little bit before me or around my time that went on and played, and to see them come back and just the passion and the energy and the love that they have for this place. And I think for us to get to where we want to go as a program, that we got to be connected. That's one of one of my objectives. I talked about how do I want people to describe this program? I want us to be a program that acts. First, we're authentic, we're connected, we're transparent, and we're about service. And that connectivity that I'm talking about is being connected to the past, right? Because I think these young men that wear the V-Saber right now, they need to understand the responsibility that they have to perform to a certain standard based off the guys that came before them. And the connection between those 2 groups propel you into the future, right? And it helps us in recruiting, because now we can identify the type of young men that need to come in and carry the legacy forward. And so I'm excited about tomorrow night and Saturday a little bit before the game. I'm gonna have a chance to engage with those guys, and my message to them has been really simple. I mean, this isn't Tony Elliott's program, man. This is Virginia football. And Virginia football encompasses everybody. It encompasses everybody that's in the building that we're in right now. It encompasses my man Jim here in the media. We're all in this thing together, and the former players are a huge piece of that. Just like the fourth side, the fans. That's why we're doing the Wahoo Walk. Man, I wanted to bring the Wahoo Walk back to engage the fans, because they're a big piece of it. The energy that they create in the stadium, the players and the coaches, they feed off of that.
Looking past the spring game a little bit, when do your grad transfers get to town and officially join the program?
Yeah, depending upon when they finish up, they could get here late May, early June.
Are you allowed during this semester to send them playbooks and
Yeah, you're up.
Are they training on their own?
Yeah, they're training on their own, and then they'll have some opportunities to talk some ball. And then the NCAA changed up the rules a little bit, so they're going to give us some on-the-field time potentially this off season that hopefully I can kind of accelerate the learning curve for those guys.
You've also reached out to other groups. I know you were at the Black Alumni Association, and saw an academic group you were with the other day. Just talk about building those bridges and how important that is.
Oh, and so I appreciate you bringing that up. The message to the faculty. So we had a faculty appreciation practice and then a brunch. Is first of all, this is the University of Virginia. We're all on the same team. Okay, our roles may be different, but it takes all of us for the university to move forward. That was my message to them. And then I wanted the faculty to be able to see these young men in their environment. And then also the players to see the faculty away from the classroom to realize that, hey, they're people just like you. And also to reinforce to the faculty that I understand, man, they've worked their whole lives to be in that position. I'm trying to create a culture where our players respect that, and they want to be engaged in that, and that we can have a working relationship, and we need each other. We need each other to move forward. And then the Black alumni, obviously that was a cool event to see, the turnout there, and just let them know that I support them. And we're all in this thing together, that we're not isolated. We don't have our silos. And again, that goes back to that connectivity that I was talking about. Is one of my desires for this program, is to be connected to the university, the alums, the community, the rest of the athletic department. Is pretty cool to see Ralph Sampson out here the other day, and hopefully I'll get Tony Bennett out here at one point in time to come watch practice. I'm gonna go over there once we get a little bit closer together. All right, Tony, I'm coming. We're gonna hang out. I guess they got us T squared, so T and T. So we're gonna try and see, can we move this thing forward together. But I've always been a team guy, and we're all a part of the team, just like we're a team. You know, you guys cover Virginia football, and so I got a responsibility to help you guys do your job, just like, you know, you guys help us and promote what our program's all about.
Is that a challenge for you in terms of first time as a head coach, you're trying to get this thing right on the field, and then you're at these events, and how hard is balancing that been?
Yeah, it's like, okay, I have my personal assistant, like, all right, what do I have next? What do I have next? What do I have next? And they just kind of keep me on track, but it's good. You know, it's good. And part of the reason I was patient transitioning from Clemson to becoming a head coach is because I observed and I watched and I talked to Coach Sweeney about it. And I could see that, you know, that's a huge part of the job. And I wanted to make sure that I was at a place where I was ready to be fully committed to that aspect of it and give up some of the or delegate some of the responsibility from a truly football perspective to my staff.
You have a bunch of guys on your staff who you've known a long time, cross paths with, but this is the first time you guys are collaborating. What has that been like now, getting to work with these guys?
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been awesome, and just confirmation of the relationship and what I thought about all these guys, and just, you know, brings me peace that I see the confirmation. What I believed in these guys, I'm starting to see it manifest on the field and in the relationships with the players. And man, it's got some really good guys first and foremost, and some really good football coaches. And it's good to see that you're starting to see the players kind of roam around the offices a lot more. You know, they want to be around the staff, which is important to me, because again, that's that connectivity. You know, it's not just, okay, we work together when it's time to be on the field, but we're connected, you know, all throughout the day and everything that we do.
A little looking forward, you seem like you keep a pretty good scope of the landscape in college football. Clemson just invested a lot in NIL. I'm sure you saw that. What do you want?
They invest a lot in everything.
Yeah, that's true. Where do you want UVA to kind of be in that NIL landscape, especially as y'all turn the page to recruiting here?
Great question, and I'm a supporter and a proponent of NIL. I think that it's great that the young men have an opportunity to monetize their name, image, and likeness. I remember when I was in college, man, you couldn't even take a free drink from somebody or you get in trouble. So I think that there's a lot of good within the rule. You know, where I struggle a little bit is just a lack of oversight, you know, a lack of structure and how quickly the landscape is changing. You know, it came out last year and it's already almost done a 180 in the course of a year, which there's some positive in that. I just worry about the long-term impact. If it's not governed the right way, right, it really could impact the young people in a negative way. And so for us at the University of Virginia, what we want is NIL to be consistent with what the values and ideals of the university are. Everybody that's associated with the University of Virginia understands that it's the thing that we stand on is educational experience and academic excellence. And then that's what we're trying to do here from a football standpoint is elevate the program to where it matches that. And so then you bring NIL into the equation, saying, hey, look, we're going to provide this opportunity. We're going to do everything that we can. We're going to provide you all the resources, but still understand that our focal point is going to be about the educational experience, the 40-year decision, right? Not just the 4-year decision. And that, I think that's consistent with who we are. And for us in recruiting, understanding that you have to talk to that, you have to have that available. But if that's the focal point for a young man, and that's really what that's his number one priority, then that doesn't align with what the university is all about. And more than likely, he's not going to be successful in the program. And it does nobody any good to bring a young man into the program that doesn't have a chance to be successful based off of the academic rigors and then also the structure and the discipline of the program. So for us, it's a big piece, but it's not the major piece, and we're going to keep it in perspective and then make all the resources available to the guys through the collective and then whatever opportunities that they seek on their own. But for me, it's a lot about educating these guys, doing as much as I can within the rules, because I'm still restricted. You know, that's all the rules are changing around me, but they're still restricting me as the head coach in what I can do as it's related to NIL. But then again, all the fallout or everything comes back to my place. So I'm trying to figure out how I can operate in that space without, you know, crossing the lines, but protecting my guys in for the short term and for the long term.
Chris, last question.
You mentioned Dunkel's on your do not participate list. Does that mean Farrell's doing?
Yeah, he's got to do it all. He's got to do it all. And then Dudley may be down, so Burns got to do it all. So.
Are you worried about that sort of workload long term? Would you be okay with one guy doing everything the whole season?
Nah, I do worry about that, and so once we get on the road, you know, I've instructed the folks in the scouting department and recruiting to just be on the lookout in case we need to, you know. And then we found another walk-on guy to come out and help us from a punting standpoint. So we'll be looking to address that going forward as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.